Well, there she sits, quietly leaking hydraulic fluid. I drove it over here to try the backhoe out and decided I was going to pull this little tree stump out. And it did an okay job of that, but not without losing a ton of fluid. So I confirmed what I already knew, which was that this cylinder right here has got some kind of issue because the fluid just squirts out of this one. So I got to figure out what's going on with that. And the other issue with the backhoe, currently it's not giving me a problem, but this cylinder right here, when I got this backhoe, those of you who remember way back when I was out in the woods initially looking at the backhoe, this nut right here was out. You could see the threads. So I tightened this nut, and after tightening this nut, it seemed to have stopped leaking and seemed to be okay. But I talked to the original owner and he told me, he said, yeah, he said he had done that in the past and had found that when he would exert high pressure on this cylinder, it would push right back out again. So he said maybe he was just putting too much pressure on it, but I think what probably happened was when it happened the first time, it probably damaged the threads in here. And apparently that's a fairly common occurrence on older machines that can happen. And unfortunately it's a very expensive fix to do it properly. It involves taking the cylinder to a machine shop, having them cut new threads in the cylinder, and then having them manufacture a new cap. So we're talking lots of man hours and big expense. So we'll deal with that when we have to. Right now, for the little bit of work I did pulling that stump out, this didn't pop out, which is a good sign. I actually used this cylinder because I couldn't really use the bucket on the end there, because this thing was just, fluid was shooting out of the end of this cylinder. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do here. So I'm going to take that nut off. Now, to take that nut off, I'm going to leave the cylinder on the machine. The reason why is because the machine will act as a vise, holding the cylinder from rotating when I'm trying to turn that nut. How do you turn that nut? Well, I've done one of these before, and you use a big wrench. That's a 36-inch pipe wrench, and I had borrowed one of these a while back when I was doing a cylinder repair on the multi-hoe backhoe, the one that was scrapping. And then I came across this one on a sale somewhere, and the price was right, and I said, you know what, I think I want to own one of these. I'm glad I do, because it's a perfect thing for working on those big gland nuts on these things. So what I'm going to do to make my life easier is I'm going to start the machine up, and I'm going to extend the hoe all the way out. You know, for a tired old motor that smokes a lot, this thing has actually been starting really well. I started it today. You know, the engine was cold. Of course, the ambient air temperature out here was, you know, like 80 today. So, but the point being is that the engine hadn't been running, and I didn't even turn the throttle up. I just had it set at the lowest setting, and it started right up. So the engine's cool now, because it was a while ago since I ran it. Doing my little jumper wire trick here, because I haven't fixed this key switch yet. Still smoking like crazy, but like I said, she starts right up. So the battery went dead before when I was trying to explain that. It's been a while since I ran a 4-stick machine, and 4-stick machine's the only thing I've ever run, actually. But I got pretty proficient with my old multi-hoe. But when I got on this thing, I was really kind of awkward with it, and I think that part of it's because I haven't run a machine in a while. But also I think part of it's because the alignment of these levers being all screwed up. And then also I noticed that the function of each lever is different than on my previous machine. I'm going by memory, but I'm almost positive that, for instance, this is the far right, this is the swing. Okay, here look a rabbit. No natural predators. We could actually use a coyote or two around here because we got a lot of rabbits this summer. And it's funny how they don't really get scared of you until you get right on top of them. They freeze. They say, "Hey, did he see me yet? Did he see me yet?" There you go. Hey, see, he still won't go. You think he's bailing? Could do that all day. Okay, so like I was saying, this is the swing cylinder, which on my other backhoe, that's correct. But then this one here is the. You see, it's the bucket. Now you see how that's. Look at that, how that's flowing out of there. I mean, that's just unbelievable how bad that's leaking. That's a mess. And then this one is the lift. So I think on my old backhoe, this lever was this one, and this one was this one. This is the dipper stick on this one. I did notice the dipper stick seems slower. Whoops. There we go. Alright, so make that easier to work on. Well, normally I like to have I have a big plastic tray. It's actually one of those plastic trays that you buy for mixing cement in and mortar in at the, like Home Depot type of thing. And it's like about 3 feet long by about 2 feet wide, about 6 or 8 inches deep. And it's a perfect thing to have underneath something like this to catch all of the fluid, but I don't know what the kids did with it. Of course, if I can't find it, I'll blame the kids. For all I know, I misplaced it. Anywho, so we'll just throw this 5-gallon pail underneath there and hopefully catch as much of the dripping as we can. I already broke this free. It actually wasn't too tight. It tells me that may have been off at some point more recently. But I know on the multi-hoe, we had to put a torch to it. It was so tight. Whew. I'm getting winded. It turns easily and goes a little ways, and all of a sudden it gets really loose. And then you come back around and it's hard to turn again, which is kind of interesting. Instead of just like breaking loose and getting looser and looser, it's got some tight spots. But these threads actually look pretty good. Looks like there's a flange gasket in here. Of course, that's not the problem. The problem is the seal right there. Well, it seems to me like I just keep turning and turning and it's not coming out any further, so I think it's just hung up at the very edge there. I'm going to get me a small hammer and a drift, see if I can't tap in this direction and pop it off. Oh, I was afraid of that. Whacking away at the thing and it's still not focused. was afraid of that. Whacking away at the thing and it's still not coming off. So I'm just going to have to keep turning it. Hopefully there's just a few more threads there and I'm just thinking that it's all the way out when it's not.